Let's be honest here. This took way too long to make. Please enjoy this video.
The story of the Tyrannic. It begins in the early 1920s when the White Star Line was rebuilding the company after World War I. When they received the Bismarck as replacement for the lost Britannic, the White Star Line decided to make an enlarged version and a more luxurious ship. White Star Line called this Project 2. The keel for the new ship was laid down in the East Shipyard of Harland and Wolff in 1923 on slipway number 15. In 1928, her new fleetmate was laid down on slipway number 14, later known as the Oceanic. And the same year, on March 9th, the new ship, Tyrannic, was launched and became the largest ship ever constructed. Her fitting out process took over a year before she could be completed, and on June 23rd, 1929, the Tyrannic was completed and ready for service. Tyrannic entered service for the White Star Line in 1929 of June, and becomes the world's largest ship, shattering all sorts of records at sea. And during 1939, when the merger of the Cunard and the White Star Line, Tyrannic of course serves as the flagship for the company. However, in 1939, Tyrannic is called into service for World War II as a troop ship. She is converted at an efficient pace and renamed to the HMTS Augustinian. In 1940, Augustinian serves as a troop ship for the British Empire, serving on many naval fronts of the war in Europe and even North Africa. But her career in the World War II was quite eventful, and continued to transport troops back to their homes between 1945 and 46. In 1946, of course, Augustinian was handed back to the Cunard White Star Line and was painfully converted back to the SS Tyrannic, the process which took nearly 3 years to do. She re-entered service in 1949 and continues to sail under the Cunard White Star Line, but signs of her age begin to show during the mid-50s, and bookings on her become far lighter as much popularity goes to the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth, despite the Tyrannic being a largely spacious ship. In 1961, the Hamburg Atlantic Line purchases the Tyrannic from the Cunard White Star Line, and restores her to sail under the Hamburg Atlantic Line. In 1963, the Tyrannic is now named the Handbavian after a modern refit. However, her career with the Hamburg Atlantic Line would end in 1966 after the company went out of business. The Handbavian was sold to the American export Ispanston Line.
Tyrannic enters service with her brand new owners, now under the name Exeter. She's given a modern refit, with her stern becoming more, of course, modern. She's changed into the American Export Line's livery and enters service as the company's flagship.
However, in 1968, profits started dropping, and the ship was quickly sold to the United States Line. She was renamed the American Pride. However, her career with the United States Line was short and only ended up serving 4 voyages with the company before she was sold back to her previous owners in 1969. In 1969, the Exeter re-entered service for the company, but of course, the shipping company realized that the ship was unprofitable and laid her up in 1970. The same year, the ship was sold to the Chandris line. Between 1970 and 1972, Chandris renovates the ship, making her much more modern and allowing for more tourist space. This included making her second funnel into an observation deck with a lounge and even a bar, with also a massive above-deck pool in between the 2 funnels with a spa area as well, and even with a brand new sun deck on the stern of the ship. In 1973, Tyrannic enters service for the Chandris line, now under the name Universalis, and begins regular cruises for Chandris, replacing the Australis, which was sold back to American investors earlier in the years. She has a regular career with the Chandris line, and of course, she becomes the flagship of the company. In 1982, however, with maintenance going into the Universalis, proves to outweigh the profit that she drags in during her last few years with the Chandris line. As a result, Chandris puts her up for sale. However, the Holland America line steps up and buys the Universalis for a very low cost. In 1983, after her bow was modernized, she entered service for the Holland America line as the Statendam. She served with the Holland America line for only 7 years before in 1990 she was sold off to Carnival.
From 1990 to 1991, Carnival Cruises began massive renovations on Statendam, replacing her 2 funnels with 2 Carnival sails, as well as completing various renovations to her upper superstructure, overall making her more family-friendly. She was also renamed into the Carnival Tranquility. From 1991 until 2001, the Carnival Tranquility, formerly the Statendam, entered full cruising service for Carnival. She would do regular cruising to Australia as well as the Mediterranean Sea. Now in 2001, the post 9/11 tourist fallout forced Carnival to lay Tranquility up and mothball her until further notice, when, finally, in 2002, the Carnival Tranquility was sold for scrap, and she was sent to a shipbreaker in Italy.